Lowe's knows that saving is always top of mind, especially this season. That's why we've picked some great deals for early Black Friday. Get free select DeWalt, Cobalt, or Craftsman tools when you buy a select battery or combo kit. More tools? Why not? Plus, we've got select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at $59.98 because it's never too early to think Christmas. Get Black Friday prices without the crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
JJ, we saw the info earlier about Luka and Marcus both being listed as probable. Can you just kind of take us through that process and learning that Luka was clearly progressed faster and was going to be able to play?
They're available. So we'll see. We're obviously going to be mindful of both these guys coming into this game with contusion, so we'll just communicate with them in real time. Luka got on a plane yesterday, got here. A bunch of us went to the gym with him last night and got some work in. And, Marcus was still, I think, progressing as of this morning, but felt really good about our shoot around. So just glad to have those guys back.
You won two tough road games, obviously without Luka, and found that you were pretty impressed, I guess, by the play. Just what does having him back, though, how does that impact things for the positive, and how do you keep doing the things that you were doing?
I look at it this way: nothing's going to change for us. We have to start with playing hard.
What stands out most about Memphis when you look at the film so far this year?
They've had different iterations of their offense over the last season and the start of this season. Didn't run a lot of plays last year, very concept-based. Then after they made the coaching change, started running more pick and rolls. Running more stuff this year. I think their loop set is hard to guard. They got a lot of options on it. And part of the reason they're hard to guard is just John and Jaren Jackson Jr. are so good. They're all-stars, and a lot of the themes we've had over the last week and change in terms of game planning apply to tonight. And we have to do a really good job of getting back and getting our defense set. Ja is so dynamic in transition, in early offense, and I think he's top 10 in the league in paint field goal attempts, and has been up at the top of the leaderboard every year he's been healthy in paint points despite being a guard. So he's got to see bodies, and that's how we played for the last week.
Who you guys start tonight next to presumably Luka, Austin, DeAndre, and Rui?
We'll see.
You're making me get through all four first before
You'll know at 30.
In our conversations with DeAndre, he seemed particularly excited for the success he's helped create for others. As you guys are kind of integrating him into your culture and what you want to do, how have you felt about his selflessness to this date?
Yeah, I think for so early in the season, he's really understood the value of his screening and the value of forcing overs for our guards, both on and off the ball. I just think he's done such a good job. And the partnership that I've talked about earlier this week with AR, with Luka in the two games he has played in, has been really good for this early in the season. And DeAndre, I think he understands that. He's talked a lot, both publicly and with coaches and with me, just about trying to impact winning in any way he can. And, it's also nice when you can get 16 and 10 out of somebody every night.
Well, that's the other part of that is that, right? Like, he's a player who's so talented that you could, and is probably defined success as these, double games and stuff like that. But for him, has that been a constant conversation as to like the other ways to impact winning that aren't maybe box score stuff?
With all our guys, if they're doing things that impact winning, those things are constantly being acknowledged and reinforced. So it's no different for DeAndre. But again, the early buy-in on that has been awesome.
Luka and AR are both so elite on ball. How can they help one another when they're on the court together beyond the idea that if they're off ball, the defense has to pay attention to them?
Yeah, I was talking with Austin earlier, and he was saying, we were talking about his minutes because he brought up some game last year where afterwards on the bus I was like, am I playing you too many minutes? And he said, with Luka back, I can actually play more minutes. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but his minutes are different, and Luka's minutes are different because the responsibility of shot creation can fall on someone else, and it's not a my turn, your turn type thing. They're going to play within our system, but it does ease the burden a bit for AR, and it does ease the burden for Luka.
JJ, you talked about kind of like the competitive spirit that this team showed, especially against Minnesota, the progress of that, the way they stay together in tough moments. Like, it's still only 5 games into the season. Like, how impressed are you, or maybe surprised me? I don't know if surprised is the word, but just like the progress.
Pleased.
Pleased, yeah.
There's certain things that we are doing right now that we did not do until mid to late January of last year, and that is really exciting as a coach. Doesn't mean that those things, the effort, the communication, game plan execution, that doesn't mean those things aren't going to wane at times throughout a season, but the fact that we've had 5 games and, opening night is opening night. Like those nights are always going to be a little wonky in Golden State. I've talked about it. They make you play a different way. I think the other 4 games, like we've established that. Can we be better? Yeah, we're going to look back in 2 months, 3 months, and say, "Oh, we played hard then, but look at us now." So we're still building on all those habits that we've talked about since day one.
You talked about DeAndre screening and the value that's brought. In one of your earlier answers, what makes him such an effective screener? I mean, I know he's a big guy, but not every big man, not every center is effective as a screener.
Well, when you talk about a partnership, it really does come down to both parties doing their job in a pick and roll, and it's the patience of the guard, and it's the big reading the screening angle and reading, his own defender. Is he up to touch? Is he in a shock? Is he in a blitz? Is he in a deep drop? And sort of dancing together. I know that's maybe a little weird, but it really is a little bit of a dance and pick and roll, and DeAndre's been a good dance partner so far.
Kind of following up, this is related, but I know last year around this time, the talking point was that you guys weren't running a lot of pick and rolls traditionally. Personnel's changed, bring Luka in, also run a lot of pick and rolls. How much went into this offseason with the offense just looking differently than it did going into last season, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Some of it was trying to try something different and with some encouragement from other stakeholders. And some of it was trying to get, AD is the hub, LeBron a little bit off the ball. And that initial group, the offense evolved a little bit in those first 2 months. Then it evolved more once we had Dorian, and AR became the primary ball handler. And then it was like, 2.5 months of just trying to figure it out on the fly. So going into this year, I felt like we need to play to the strengths of our best players, and we certainly attempted to do that last year. When you have one of the best pick and roll players in the league and in the world, you should run pick and roll. And AR has proven his chops as a operator and creator as well. I think there's a lot of stuff that we will eventually get to with LeBron. There's certain those utility plays that I've been talking about. There's certain things that we're using now as utility plays that once we have LeBron back, we'll use more. Because he's such a good screener, he's such a good passer, he's obviously really good when the ball's in his hands as well. So just constantly trying to tweak it just to allow us to create advantages with our best players.
Jake LaRavia, former Grizzly, what have you seen from him on both sides of the ball as he's been integrating into this team?
Well, he had a fantastic game the other night, and I know a lot of the praise will be for the offensive end and the way he shot the ball and scored the basketball. But really, two of the last 3 games, he's been awesome defensively, and I thought he was great in both Minnesota games on that end. I mentioned the deflections post game, but it's funny, we were rewatching or showing the guys the defensive edit yesterday before we left Minnesota, and you just watch him, and like, if he's supposed to be the low man, he's going to be the low man. His defensive awareness quickly of our schemes and all that stuff has been really good. Our greens, our shifts, all that stuff, it's been really, really good. He's picked it up quickly, and he's just a really good basketball player who does a lot of things really well.
JJ, you I think alluded to some of the reasons, but the drive numbers for Luka and Austin are way up. Only a couple other players in the league that are doing it as much and as efficient as doing so. Is there a way to summarize kind of what you've been seeing there and how important that is to the offense?
Yeah, again, we try to emphasize touching the paint, and those 2 guys are the best guys we have at touching the paint. And so they both have just been focused on doing that, and both recognize, I think, that when they do touch the paint, it's an opportunity then to create and not just score in the paint, which they have done obviously very efficiently, but it's an opportunity to collapse the defense. And a number of these teams we've played are paint swarm teams, and they've done a good job of finding their teammates.
JJ, the NBA sent out a tweet earlier today that had one of probably the signature moments of your career, which was when you walked into the arena dressed up as Emmett from the Lego movie. Before it came, kind of the Halloween costumes. What was the story behind that?
When I went as Emmett from the Lego movie, I wasn't allowed to trick or treat growing up. It was considered a pagan holiday for much of my childhood. So there was no, first of all, we didn't have neighbors, so there wasn't anywhere to go. I'm just going to go wander around in the woods on Halloween. Like, what?
I've seen a Halloween movie like that.
I gotta walk 2 miles uphill and downhill in the snow to get to the school bus. So, anyways, first year in New Orleans, we went down to State Street, in sort of uptown, and we were all dressed as Lego character movies. My family and I. Unfortunately, I can't do it this year, but we've been thematically dressing. We've gone as Super Mario Brothers characters. We've gone as the Avengers. We did the Flintstones one year. Full garb. My quads, I was still an active player. When I was Barney, it was really nice. But I was just trick-or-treating, and I just was like, I don't know, it was the end of my career, and I was like, I never do anything. I never got to wear a headband. I never wore neon shoes. And so that year in New Orleans, I was just like, I'm just going to do stuff that I've always wanted to do. And so I've always wanted to go as a character for Halloween. So I wish I had worn the pants. I had some jeans on, but the Lego hands were problematic.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.